So you might be quite surprised at the fact that I'm reviewing a film like this, but to me, a great film is a great film, no matter the genre. And I never like to limit myself or discriminate a particular genre when it comes to movies. I find that if you do that, then a lot of films that demand your attention are going to go under your radar. And you know what? I'm so glad I checked this out, and I'm about to tell you why. So I kind of came across this film by accident, and I'm absolutely baffled as to why no one is talking about it. Usually what I do at the end of the year is Google what are the best films of the year, and this came up as one of them. And my wife said that she had heard from other people that it was awesome, so decided to give it a bash. So Marriage Story's main actors are Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson and Laura Dern, and is essentially a movie about divorce. Now my instinct normally to a film of this nature would be, oh wow, this is going to be so depressing. And you'd think on paper, a movie about divorce, surely can't be that interesting. But once you hopefully witness for yourself how well this movie is executed, it will for sure change your perspective. Now the good thing is, right off the bat, is by no means a typical by-the-numbers predictable breakup movie. In fact, it explores more and is more about dealing and coping with a breakup, finding compromises and keeping what was sort of positive out of the relationship, taking that with you and sort of taking that with you at all times. I do love it when a movie takes actors out of their usual typical roles and places them in something completely different. You really get to not only see a completely different side to them, but you also get to see them at their full acting potential, especially in a film of this nature, and it being a drama. For me personally, I think we have one of the best performances of the whole year from Scarlett Johansson, and Adam Driver was awesome too. But I think Scarlett had just a bit more screen time and a bit more script to work with. In fact, Scarlett's performance was so good that it gets to the point where you completely stop seeing the actress and you're just fully invested in the character, which is pretty much how I felt a mere sort of 10 minutes into it. Now, the amount of detail they go into regarding the divorce process is incredible. Never experienced anything like it, and actually it was actually quite fascinating. I was worried at one point that they would go into a bit too much detail and get really bogged down with it to the point of boredom, but it really doesn't. It keeps itself grounded when it needs to, and there are plenty of moments of levity sprinkled throughout as well. In fact, about say 15 minutes into this, once you start to realise the sheer quality of the filmmaking that's being displayed, you will almost forget it's a story about the potential struggles of relationships and divorce, just because you're so drawn in and have this massive appreciation to the way the movie is being crafted. One of its best elements for certain is how great the film is directed. You have some scenes which are really long, but because of how well it's directed, no scene ever felt like it ever outstayed its welcome. There's a few tracking shots, and in the more emotional moments, the director is solely focused on capturing the emotional weight behind every single line of dialogue. I haven't quite felt this engrossed in a movie in a long time in regards to some of the monologuing scenes. The whole movie just feels so incredibly thought out and well scripted. Why can't we have this level of greatness in more of the sort of blockbustery type films? I'm sure a lot of people are going to be able to resonate with this film, even if you're going through just a simple breakup, not necessarily a divorce. You will be instantly hooked by its premise and just by how powerfully the story is told. So as the movie develops, again, you would think that it would be a bunch of scenes of the couple just arguing and some courtroom scenes, and then back to them arguing. But no, it's really not like that at all. In fact, most of the time they are quite civil with each other until one particular scene, which was absolutely excellent. There's basically one scene that starts off with it being very civilized with each other, but then the tension just mounts up, and holy shit, it gets intense. And it's what the majority of the film had basically been leading up to, and it's very satisfying to watch. Both of the characters literally do not hold anything back in this particular scene. It is awesome. And throughout of it, you're kind of rooting for both of them as well. You're on both of their sides for different reasons. And you do want both of them to have a positive outcome at the end. So Marriage Story does have great pacing, structure and editing as well. There wasn't too much focus on one particular thing, and had a really good balance of scenes with lawyers or just the two of them together, them two with other family members, them together with their kid, and them individually with their kid. all these different kinds of interactions was a good vehicle for sort of showcasing how versatile both these actors truly are. Another thing I wanted to bring up was also the side characters, and particularly Laura Dern's character as a lawyer. She wasn't your typical like movie lawyer. She actually helps Scarlett's character like quite emotionally as well as financially. So in that regard, it was really refreshing to see a lawyer character come across as really likable. I mean, that has to be very rare in real life. I think one of my favourite scenes in the whole movie involved a social worker whose job it was to observe Adam Driver's character with his kid at his home. It is brilliant. It has moments that are funny, tense and awkward all in one scene, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So if there's ever a film to encourage you not to ever get a divorce, it's this one. Because holy shit, it was stressful enough. It was stressful enough sometimes just watching these characters go through certain things during the whole process of getting a divorce. It would be nice to think that if you ended a long-term marriage with someone that it would end on good terms, but this movie really gets you thinking about and depicts so well how more potentially you may end up hating one another, or that you may end up despising each other even if you did end on good terms, because of the mind games and manipulation that would most likely naturally occur from the whole divorce process, in connection with sort of, you know, who gets what at the end and all that. One negative thing I would say about Marriage Story was, I had a bit of a problem sort of right at the end. There was a scene which I guess was supposed to serve as the sort of, you know, emotional climax. I'll tell you what, after going on this journey with both of them, I was ready to absolutely bawl my eyes out. I won't spoil the particulars of what goes on in the scene, but it was essential to the story. But it cuts off just as you're about to potentially have absolute floods of tears. And I found that a little frustrating. I actually turned to my wife immediately afterwards and said, I wish they'd kept that going on a little longer, and she couldn't have agreed anymore. I just felt like the movie deserved a much more stronger payoff than the one we got. Now, don't get me wrong, I love what they actually did with the ending, but definitely thought they should have built on it, considering how fundamental the message was and how they were conveying it. But despite that, overall I absolutely loved it and highly recommend it. I hope anyone watching this gives this film the time it deserves and doesn't get overlooked, because I would consider this a masterpiece of drama. And too many films these days of this quality are getting overlooked. If you love drama, you should love this. If you like films to have intense emotional scenes, you'll love this. If you're just a movie buff in general, you should love this. Honestly, one of the best films of the year. So for those of you who have seen it, I'll be interested to know your thoughts on it, and for those of you who haven't, I highly recommend you watch it. It's still on Netflix. Go see it. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You've been watching Feature Creature. I'll catch you next time.